Alan Carter, welcome to Inspiring Careers.
Hi, John. Great to be with you.
No, it's great to have you here. I'm delighted that we've known each other for many years and we've had a lot of fun together. And I've always appreciated the fact that you've been nice enough to give us business. Now, you're from the Free State originally. You're from Dublin.
Yeah.
You grew up in the UK. You went to college in Worcester. What got you interested initially in both recruitment and the IT world, if you like?
I'll take you all the way back.
Yeah.
I originally started as a chef.
Oh,
started
did you?
out in life as a chef.
Yeah.
And then realised after a couple of years that in terms of that industry, it wasn't probably beneficial for my long-term well-being.
Yes.
So made
Now,
a
this
shift.
is before the glamour days of chefing, I presume, before Gordon
Absolutely,
and all the
way
guys
before
around.
that. Yeah. I've got some. I know I've got all the battle scars from it probably still on my body. So it's it was a tough industry, and I actually fell into sales. I through a friend of a friend. I actually worked for a local newspaper. In the advertising sales team.
Yes.
So that kick-started my sales career. And then that progressed all the way through to IT and telco sales.
Yes.
And then in around 2011, decided to change my life through moving to Australia.
Okay.
So part of that was a state sponsorship with the ACT.
Yes.
So that led to me moving to Canberra with no employment. And meagre savings. So the savings would sustain me for a period of time. And actually, as part of my integration into life in Canberra, I was invited to a charity function. And I found myself sitting next to a gentleman called Adam Shapley. Adam was the regional director for Hayes Recruitment.
Okay,
So during the dinner, Adam and myself got talking, and he invited me in to meet with his team and into the office for a walk around the office. And I hadn't considered recruitment as a career vertical for me. I was still very much entrenched in a sales mindset. And found myself having to really press reset on my career and become an associate consultant. So from quite senior sales roles, I then moved to a new country, a new city, a new life, and really had to start from the bottom. So as an associate consultant with Hayes, recruiting IT infrastructure. And
that would have been in the government, would it?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have had a lot of connections at that stage either, hey?
No connections.
It
was a blank page.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience.
Yes.
But again, with recruitment, it was a blend of sales and people, which were at that time two of my favourite things.
Yes.
I really enjoy the people side of what I do, but also from the commercial element, that was familiar to me from my career in sales in the UK.
Yeah. So then you worked for them down there, transferred to Sydney?
Bright Lights of Sydney, Bright Lights. Yeah. So worked in Canberra for a couple of years in government.
Yes.
Really enjoyed it, loved it. Canberra's a great place. But I was seduced by the Bright Lights of Sydney.
And then was that still with Hayes then?
Yeah, it was with Hayes, So by Australia Square, so moved up to the executive search arm of their business in Sydney.
Yeah. Now, did you have another job in another agency before you joined Red Hat, or did you go to Red Hat after that?
Yeah, actually, that's interesting because so within Hayes, I found the environment wonderful. But I felt as if I also needed to experience working in a different type of environment. So I went to work for an independent agency in Walsh Bay.
Yes.
They were very, very trendy, very fashionable. Hayes was very officious.
Yes.
And it was quite structured. Whereas I moved into a really dynamic environment which was a contrast to Hayes, but with the same commercial pressures and all the things that come with recruiting. So it was an interesting period of time. And I was actually quite enjoying it. But what was happening in my head at the time was that I'd gravitated away from Hayes, and I thought it was because I needed to experience something different in terms of an organisational structure.
Yes.
And I actually realised it was actually I was looking for something more vocational in Outlook.
Yeah.
So I was tapped on the shoulder by Red Hat with an offering to be an internal recruiter for their sales and professional services function in North Sydney.
Yes.
So that was looking at the whole of Asia Pacific. And that role was appealing to me in that there was less of a commercial element to it, and it was more people focused and acting in the best interests of the business. So that's something which I took in. It was a contracting role. So it was a fixed term contract, and I spent 18 months at Red Hat ahead of moving to OpenText.
Well, you've had a wonderful run. You've been at OpenText now for nearly 8 years?
Yeah.
and you've obviously enjoyed it, and you've grown there. What does a typical day look for you now?
Oh, never the same.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, because you're working globally as well.
Never the same. Yeah,
you're working,
yeah.
I presume, with people in the States in the morning, and then
Yeah. The daily pressures of working for a multinational company.
Yes.
It's really challenging and rewarding. It's opened up all types of different cultural experiences for me.
Yes. Yeah.
But a typical day will start at about 6 or 7 a.m.
Yes.
Some mornings start at 5 a.m. with meetings with my peer group in North America.
Yes.
And then the day is spent generally speaking with the business, with some of our support functions, and helping my team. So
Excellent.
that's a big part of my day.
Yeah.
And quite often the day will end at 10:30. I think somebody said something to me once in terms of working now is less about a work-life balance and more about work-life integration.
Yes.
So
yes.
whilst the days start early and end very late, the balance that OpenText and life at OpenText gives me in terms of my work and life is wonderful. So I have a really good lifestyle.
Yeah, no, well, I was going to run over that. And tell me this, hey, I mean, have you seen an evolution over the last 6 or 7 years in terms of the way you guys do your recruitment? Have you had to put processes in place? Are you using more technology-based tools? I'm just curious more than anything as to how you've seen it change in there.
Has changed, yeah. So from quite an immature talent management platform, we're now actually, we recently launched an AI platform.
Yeah.
So everything that's gone on in between has been sort of very data centric.
Yes.
And obviously utilizing that data to drive insights and make better decisions, more qualified decisions.
Yeah.
So technology really is at the heart of everything that we do.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of the company, do you feel that the company is now more proactive in terms of creating the brand awareness in the market? I mean, you and I obviously have been lucky. I've been very lucky. You've dealt with me for years. I've always been a great advocate of OpenText, but it's almost like they're the best kept secret in the market. Do you feel now, even with the acquisition of Micro Focus, et cetera, that the company's now more prominent?
I feel so, yes, and I think the shift has come sort of during that time of the 2 years ago when we were on the cusp of the acquisition with Micro Focus.
Yes.
I saw a real shift in terms of talent branding, and we actually have dedicated resource in region now, whereby we look at all of our social media marketing in terms of the outreach to the market. We individualize campaigns. We do because we're a bilingual company. So our employees across the region, wherever they're based, they will speak English, but also the home language of where they're based. So we do a lot of bilingual social media content now on LinkedIn and various other platforms.
And I mean, that's good for you and I both coming from Ireland and the UK, that we get the chance to meet all these wonderful people from different nationalities. As a leader, what's the breakdown of your team? Have you got people in Asia, people down here, et cetera?
Yeah. So from Tokyo all the way across. So we have a presence in Japan, China, Hong Kong, Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. So everywhere in between. So we have local recruiters, and I have a team of quite senior recruiters.
Yes.
And they actually they recruit pretty much everything which will come into the business. So from senior executive appointments all the way through to
I will give you a plug in and notice somebody on LinkedIn just get a job as a director of professional services who I know, and he's a good lad. So you've done well there. First name Dougal.
All right.
So
okay.
He's a top man. So that was a good hire for you.
Good.
You're in a leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
What type of leader are you?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the workplace has evolved, and I think dynamic leadership now is something which is required.
Yes.
So not just a carrot and stick methodology like in the good old days or way back when. Service leadership. So I was described about a year ago by somebody as a service leader.
Yes.
Which I think accurately sums up what I bring to the team. So what I do is I make a big investment in the team and their success. So what I will provide is I'll provide a bird's eye view.
Yes.
Rules of engagement.
Yeah.
But also understand the individual and what motivates them. And then try and provide as much as I can in terms of a support infrastructure for them to flourish and for them to enjoy their work.
Yeah. I mean, do you see yourself almost as a mentor or a coach these days for them as well, hey?
Yeah. And I think I would summarize it by saying that I've been at OpenText for 8 years now. So, within that, you do get some operational experience of knowing who to go to and when to push and when not to. So I think that experience, in terms of a coaching role, gives a solid backbone for my team to be able to make informed decisions and to be able to understand when they can make those decisions as well.
That's excellent. Now, let me ask you this. I'm curious about this. You are a great soccer player. You've coached people, etc. You're a team player, which you and I always look for in people's resumes. Has there been a person or people in your career who has been or have been a great influence on you?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be one person.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of different influences.
Yeah.
I'd actually, without going too far, John, I think you've been a tremendous influence on my career.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know I've never said that to you before, so it's interesting.
I don't need to blush because I'm so red already. You won't notice it on camera, I can assure you.
No, but in terms of day to day, I'm influenced by everybody around me. So it's not one person. I've been working with some fantastic individuals at OpenText currently. I've worked with some tremendous people at Red Hat and Hayes. Even back when I was working in local newspapers, there's so many individuals who've had an influence on me. So it's not one person. I think I just really take encouragement from everybody around me.
Yes, yeah. You've got my image now of you doing the work as a chef when you're working 100 hours a week and probably getting paid $10 an hour and people treating you very shabbily. But that's a story for another day. With the role that you're doing now then, you interview people for your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You interview people for the company.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a potential employee?
Outside of the fitment in terms of skill set, qualifications, what I look for is people with a story. I find that my style of leadership is about working with people to help them flourish, and it doesn't have to be a huge, fantastical Hollywood type backstory.
Yes.
But what I look for in an individual outside of the obvious is somebody who has a passion. So trying to unlock that passion and understand, because we do spend a lot of time at work, we invest a lot of time and effort into our careers.
Yeah.
So I think that's precious and that should be valued. And as a leader, you have to understand if you can help that person to develop both professionally and personally. So what I look for in an individual is to see whether I can unlock a passion in them, if they have a passion, and how I can help them progress their career and their life.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. And during this period, are you happy that you've improved the retention rates? The company's in a lot healthier position from a recruitment perspective than it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not being disrespectful saying that. That's my observation. It's now a great place to work. Are you happy with some of the processes that you guys have put in? Yeah. From a retention perspective, yeah.
I feel that that has been one of the most significant achievements for OpenText in the last few years, particularly with the integration of Micro Focus. I think you had a lot of people who were nervous on both sides, who were wondering, where that whole acquisition piece left them in their career, and where their job was actually going to be. People, scared of whether they actually had a job anymore. So there was obviously some discomfort. But what I found with OpenText is they're very people focused. The focus from the CEO down is to understand how individuals are feeling and kind of taking the temperature at regular checkpoints. I still think we can do things better, but in terms of the retention piece, I think a lot of it comes top down from the CEO. But we are blessed to be working with some fantastic people, some very bright minds, but some very emotionally intelligent people. And I found that OpenText is the type of environment that encourages collaboration, but true collaboration. No opinion is undervalued or devalued. Everybody's opinion holds weight. Yeah.
Now listen, in terms of your work, for example, I know I've always encouraged you to do a bit of networking, etc. There's a lot of great talent directors out there. But what do you do for you and your team to keep up to date with what's happening in the industry? I suppose we probably need to position that from a recruitment perspective. I'll talk to you about sort of technology trends in a second, but what do you do to keep up to date with what's happening, to see who's doing what in the industry, to see if there's anything extra that you can do from an innovation perspective?
That's a great question. Quite often asked that question during interviews of potential employees. I've been on the other side of maybe asking that question. I could give you a long drawn out answer that probably wouldn't be truthful or accurate. We read white papers, we go to exhibitions, and
You use AI. Yeah.
What we do is we speak with people, on a daily basis. What you and I do, John, is we're people focused. So really, we keep up to date and up to speed. So we have a research and development team.
Yes.
So from a core technology point of view, we have some close links to some teams in Manila and India. So we're always kind of picking their brains as to what we're doing to remain current as an organisation through our technology stack.
Yes. Yeah.
But we primarily speak with people. So we talk in the market. So we talk with people like you. We talk with candidates. We talk with our business leaders, and we remain informed through all the usual tools that we have at our disposal. But I would say we're heavily influenced by dialogue.
And I mean, are there any trends in the industry that you personally are keeping an eye on at the minute?
Yeah, so with the new talent platform, so predictive AI,
which you launched about a month ago from memory. Yeah.
So predictive AI, we're on a journey of discovery with that one.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge thing in life in general, not just within the industry. How you would harness predictive AI, not in a type of a rise of the machines type situation, but in a practical way.
Yes.
But also through what we do, and it's the age-old dilemma of how you would store, retain, categorize, and distribute and share data. So that's a big thing for us still.
Yeah. And hey, for you personally, for example, I mean, what do you do now for your own personal development? I mean, have you done any courses? Do you do a lot of research and reading yourself? What do you do for you?
And again, truthfully, I'd like to say I do plenty, but the day-to-day is obviously quite involved. But what I do have with OpenText is the support of an organisation who are people-focused.
Yes.
So we have an educational allowance. We're provided with a dollar figure.
Yeah.
I won't share that with you now, but it's quite generous, and that dollar figure goes calendar year. So we are encouraged to undertake additional learnings, which I have done previously. So I've done lots of interesting courses around talent acquisition, talent management, leadership. And also I'm branching out now into HR leadership as well.
Actually, this is a good point. Do you feel now that you're a better leader than you were 4 or 5 years ago in terms of the way you engage both with your people and the various other leaders within the company?
Yeah. And that's just through experience. It's through trial and error, and sometimes it's through making mistakes.
Yes.
And then other times it's through going with your gut and using intuition. But always, being respectful of the individual. But in terms of my own growth as a leader, I wouldn't have considered myself a leader 5 years ago. And you don't consider yourself a leader until potentially you're kind of embedded into that space. So I was an individual contributor.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Always. Yeah. And I never saw myself having the capability or maturity to pick up a leadership role. But what Red Hat and OpenText afforded me was the opportunity to give it a go and try.
Hey, I mean, without getting personal, is that a confidence issue? Do you feel more confident about yourself than you perhaps did 10 or 15 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a confidence thing. But also, working with individuals who inspire you within the team and kind of help you raise your own standard is also useful as a leader.
Yeah.
So not just being all knowing, all knowledgeable, and all powerful, and utilizing that as a way to keep people, in their place or down, as they would say previously. I use my team and my colleagues and some of the support functions. I really lean upon them. So my success as a leader, which I would call it a success in terms of retention and the feedback that we receive. I think that hinges on other individuals and not primarily myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, having engaged with your team, I can see that they all enjoy working with you and for you. So I think that's very positive. What are you most proud of up to now in your career? I know you're only a young man compared to me, right? But I mean, any 2 or 3 key achievements that you feel particularly proud of?
Again, I would say there's been plenty of highs. There's been an equal amount of lows as well, and in between.
Yeah.
I couldn't really summarise what the key achievement would be. We've won HR awards for equity, diversity, and inclusion. at the Australian HR Awards. We've also won workplace flexibility programs, best workplace flexibility program in 2023.
Yes.
So that obviously is interlinked into the organisation and the people and culture. So that's a significant achievement. But I would just say the success of my team. That's the biggest single achievement in my career is the ongoing success of my team. And everything in between has obviously been very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, that's good. And listen, away from work, I mean, we all like to get that sort of work-life balance. What's your favorite hobby away from work?
Walking my dog.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty fit. You still do a lot of running in that, yeah?
Yeah. I played football up until a few years ago.
Yes.
That was a big thing. I've had to replace that. So, I spend plenty of time walking the dog. He takes a lot of exercise.
Yes.
I travel a lot. We're fortunate enough to be able to travel through work and personal travel.
Yeah.
So travel's a big passion. And outside of that, I'm a frustrated muso. So
yeah.
Very frustrated muso.
Well, do you like the music that we're using as our cover for this particular
It's
one,
pretty
which
good,
is good?
actually,
And
yeah.
you've got a couple of young people here, a couple of DJs, etc., who can give you a little bit of coaching. I'm going to ask you one last professional question, and then we can have a chinwag about the football. The most important question of our show: what advice do you have for any young people starting off in our industry?
I think, again, there could be a stock answer I would give. I would say don't seek discomfort, because discomfort is around us everywhere. It's just part of life and part of professional life.
Yeah.
I would say acknowledge discomfort.
Okay.
And kind of bring it in as your friend. So acknowledge that sometimes there will be low points. Sometimes you will disagree with individuals. Sometimes you will disagree with also with strategic decisions that are made.
Yes.
So to anybody starting out, my biggest piece of advice would be to probably encourage discomfort, welcome it, but outside of that, do everything. Everything that you do has to be heartfelt. And as long as you do everything and you can be genuine in everything that you do, and listen to your own voice, collaborate with other individuals. I think that's a big thing today, to be able to collaborate and also trust your own judgment. Yeah,
no, that's excellent. So listen, I've very much enjoyed talking to you. It's a new show, obviously, and I appreciate you coming on. I'm very lucky that we've got both a personal and a professional friendship. Seeing as we're coming up to Christmas, I'm going to give you the platform. As the Man City Empire looks as if it's falling apart, my question for you, look at your crystal ball. Are United on the comeback trail?
No, absolutely not. No.
Any thoughts on that over the next 12 months?
Nothing I could, you may need to bleep me.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I think it's just a revolving door at the moment. And it's probably going to be like that until they get a little bit more success. But how that comes, whether it's luck or whether it's skill, I'm not sure. But
Well, listen, I'd like to thank you for coming on.
Cheers, John.
I've enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Very good. There you go. Our Christmas special with Alan Carter, who's the talent director at OpenText. So I look forward to everyone joining us in the new year. We're going to run one a month, and we're going to have some wonderful people on, especially some of our younger generation. My name is John Waters. I'm Managing Director at Abercorn International Search, and you've been watching Inspiring Careers. Thank you.